So you have made the choice to buy a home here in Colorado Springs. So that is your first great decision. But today we are going to be breaking down the top 5 things to make sure you don't muck that decision up. The top 5 biggest mistakes that home buyers make here in Colorado Springs and just in general. So let's dive into it.
All right, everybody. Hey, before we get into the top 5 mistakes you definitely want to avoid if you decide to buy a place here in Colorado Springs, let me take a real quick minute to remind you, our channel, all about Colorado Springs, where to eat, work, live, play, whatever it is. So if you guys are coming to the area, moving, taking a trip, whatever it is, reach out, hit us up if you guys have any questions, and definitely subscribe if you want some more info about this great city. 5 things, Francis.
All right.
Top 5 things to avoid. And this is from years of experience and a lot of clients that we still try to coach the right way that sometimes don't listen. So
Yes.
number 1, I would say, is not doing your own due diligence. Obviously, watching these videos, pretty good place to start for some due diligence. But you got to do a lot more. What are some things, like if you're going to buy in a new town, that you would want to make sure you check out?
I want to make sure that I'm not getting ready to buy a house in like a high crime community.
Yep.
If I've got kids, I want to know where the best schools are. We have another video talking about school choice and schools here in Colorado Springs, so check that out. I just want to know what amenities and things there are to do around where I'm going to be living. So if I was looking in Colorado Springs, I'm going to download our relocation packet that you can find in the description below. Great place to start. But yeah, if you have more questions about it, definitely reach out. We can kind of point you in the direction, just kind of based on what you're looking for. You know, if you want to be close to the mountains, if you don't want to be close to the mountains, we've had people that are like, I want to be as far away from the mountains as possible in Colorado Springs, and we can help make that happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely doing your due diligence. You know, as licensed agents, we can't really like point you in the direction of like, how should I put
You
this?
should definitely buy right here.
Exactly. Yeah. But we can give you the information you need to be able to make that decision for yourself.
And there's a ton of great info, as you can probably imagine, on Google.
Yes.
So yeah, like the things that Francis mentioned, definitely check out all those areas. I think for me too, like once you know what your employment's going to be and where your job location is going to be,
Yeah.
you know, even though we always say driving across like anywhere in Colorado Springs is no more than 30 minutes, maybe you're like, dude, I want a 15-minute drive and that's it. No more. So just check, you know, kind of commute times and traffic patterns and that kind of stuff too. So yeah, just don't bank on the fact that you're going to do all that due diligence. Like if you come here to visit to kind of figure out if you want to buy a place or whatever, or even if you just want to rent, just do a lot of that research ahead of time. Saves you a lot of hassle.
Yeah, definitely. And try and come out here for a visit before you actually fully move out here.
Like the term boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Get here and walk it. You can do a lot of good research online. Man, nothing beats actually just kind of walking around the city, seeing the sights, stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Due diligence, number 1. It sounds kind of obvious, but a lot of people don't do it amazingly.
Yeah.
Number 2, I would say, is don't wait for the unicorn.
Yes.
You have some thoughts on this, I think.
I do, yes. So if you've been following along with the real estate market in general, you know that we are experiencing somewhat of a inventory shortage right now. And fortunately, right now in October, we are in this sweet little spot where sales are down, but inventory is still kind of picking up. And that's going to taper down here real soon. And really, there's no such thing as the perfect house. Chris, you built your house.
I was going to say, I have lived in a few houses in Colorado Springs and other places as well. And a couple of years ago, like you just mentioned, built a custom home, GC'd it ourselves and moved in. And I think one day later, we're like, man, I wish we would have done that.
Yeah.
So you're never, in my experience, and I will say all of our clients' experience, you're never going to find the absolute perfect house. I mean, we've had clients with, multi-million-dollar budgets and they build a new house and there were sacrifices to be made somewhere, So I think that's a big thing that they kind of just get stuck on, and understandably so. I mean, Colorado Springs, you're going to spend $500,000.
Yes, absolutely.
So dropping that kind of change, you really want to have a place that you love and it checks all the boxes. And just fact of life is, you're probably not going to check all the boxes on the house that you ultimately decide to go with.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I like to tell my clients is 80-20 rule. It's 80% of what you want, 20% of what you can do without or fix.
Yep,
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. And 80 in school was a B, and that's a solid B. I think a B is a win.
Win, man.
Yeah. So 80-20 rule, you're not going to find that perfect house. If you are waiting for that perfect house, you might wait for a long time because it's probably not going to happen.
And I encourage people, like if you're thinking about renting, it's not quite as important, but if you're thinking about buying a place, man, you got to have that, I call it the needs, wants, and desires list. You know, you've got to have it all listed out. I'm not a big list guy or spreadsheet guy, but in this situation, I think that's pretty helpful to just kind of list all that stuff out and figure out like, hey, here's the stuff I just have to have. If you're a family with 2 or 3 kiddos, you probably don't want a 1-bathroom house.
Yeah.
So that's probably a need, not a want or desire. But just list that stuff out. And then, man, when you find that place that checks the most important boxes for you, it's time to make an offer, man.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So don't wait for the unicorn.
Do not. Number 3.
What is number 3?
I would say make sure you do a home inspection. What do you think about that one?
Well, I mean, when things were really competitive, even just earlier this year, I mean, I heard of people waiving their inspections, and we have done things similar, but I will never, ever, ever advise my client to not have a home inspection. Even if we can put in the contract, you know, limit inspection items to health and safety. That's fair.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to ask them to repaint the interior.
Make sure offer a little bit more competitive.
Yeah.
So people know you're not going to hit them up for like cosmetic stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But you need to know what you are walking into. And there are things that inspectors are going to point out that you probably would never even think twice about. Their job, and it can be scary to look at their inspection reports sometimes, but their job is to pick apart literally anything they can find that might even possibly be wrong with that house.
Yeah.
So inspect, just do the inspection.
Do it.
Yeah. I mean, they cost, I think, you know, $450 to $550, depending on what add-ons you want to do, sewer, radon, what have you. It's well worth the investment, because if you walk into something that looks great when really it's just like lipstick on a pig, and it's going to cost you $50,000 to $100,000 later on down the line to fix things like foundation, roof, whatever the case may be, you are going to be sorely, what's the word I'm looking for?
Upset.
Yes. Yes. Very upset. Yeah. You're going to be in a world of hurt there.
And I think to kind of tie it in with Colorado Springs specifically, like we have some stuff here that, you know, like Southeast, pretty much most parts of the country, you worry about termites. We don't have to worry about termites. So that's cool. But we've got in the foothills, west side of town, you've got to worry about, you know, sliding hill slopes.
Yeah.
That's not good for a foundation. So there's certain areas that, you know, someone local that's been here for a while, they're going to kind of know these different things to look for. So that's why, you know, a quality home inspector that's been here for a while, that's done a lot of it, is going to know these things to look for. But yeah, in Colorado Springs, we have certain unique things that you want to catch because they can be big ticket items. Like there's parts of town where sewer lines are a common issue.
Yes.
Parts of town, like I said, where you have, you know, sliding hill slopes that can be I won't say a common issue, but can be an issue with some homes. A lot of folks are really concerned about rain on gas nowadays. And there's parts of town where it's going to be typically higher than it is in other parts of town. So Colorado Springs is, I won't say unique that it has different areas with different issues, but it is a town that has that. And I think a lot of it just because we're right up against the mountains. There's just a lot of geology and stuff with the soil and where homes are built that you just got to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't skip your home inspection. And if you can be at the home inspection, even better, because like I said earlier, those inspection reports can be very scary if you're not there for some kind of context when talking with your inspector.
Yeah, you get this 38-page report of like the house is going to blow up if you look at it wrong, when really the inspector was like, oh, pretty solid house, man.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, if you can be there in person, it's better. So yeah, number 3, get a home inspection. Number 4, mistake to avoid
is getting on Zillow and calling the listing agent thinking that you are going to get a deal. There are several reasons that this is a mistake, so we're going to kind of break them all down. Number 1, you are not going to get a deal. It doesn't matter if there's one agent on the property or not. They are or on the listing or not. They have an agreement, a pre-made agreement with the seller on commission. So whether or not you're using them or your own buyer's agent, which by the way costs you nothing out of pocket directly, it's usually paid out of seller proceeds. The listing agent is going to be making, you know, somewhere between typically 4 to like maybe even a full commission, which on average is around 6% here in Colorado Springs. And then you're effectively paying them to negotiate against you, because they are not going to treat you as, you know, their client. They're going to treat you as a customer in this case. So they're not going to advocate for you. They're not going to help you out with the inspection objection. They're not going to help you out with any issues that come up with the appraisal. their whole goal in this is to help the seller. So find a buyer's agent.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
find a buyer's
definitely.
agent.
Like, I think a lot, like you said, I mean, it's easy for us to say, right? Because we're
Yeah.
in the business, right? Probably myself included before I got into the business. Like, you're just thinking, it's sales, man. I'm going to go straight to that person.
Mhm.
I'm going to save some cash on the whole deal. But like Francis said, like, I'll admit, it's the same thing. If we have listings and somebody calls us directly, we already have an agreement with our client, and that payment commission is already negotiated ahead of time. And if there's nobody else involved, then that's probably going to come to our team. So it just makes sense that you have somebody in your corner representing solely your interest. And we do have something else where, it's called a transaction broker relationship, where an agent can work with both parties, but they're not looking out for the interest. They're kind of just helping pass paperwork back and forth, essentially. But man, like, it just, in my opinion, it's so much better to have somebody looking out for you directly. And a lot of people think, well, yeah, but if I call that listing agent and I can tell them, hey, look, I don't have another agent, so I want to reduce the sale price, because they're a savvy buyer.
Yeah.
They say, I want you to reduce the sale price, however much that commission you were going to pay, because you don't have to pay my agent anything, because I don't have an agent. It just doesn't work out that way. Usually most agents are like, okay, cool, gotcha. And then the negotiation goes on, and maybe they did back off that part of the commission, but if you would have had an agent looking out for your interest, probably could have negotiated a better deal at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you would have got more up the price and would have actually saved you more as a buyer. So reaching out direct, never the best.
Yep.
Anything else on that one?
I think we pretty much covered that. Yeah.
Straightforward one.
Yeah,
Right? Hey, we all want to do it, man.
Yeah.
I invest in other markets, and sometimes that's what I do is I get on Zillow,
Yeah.
I look up who the agent is, and I call that person.
Yeah.
But I feel like I kind of represent myself too. So
For sure. Yeah.
So the last one, mistake number 5 then to avoid, is along similar lines, because it's talking about a person to contact in the situation of buying a home. Don't contact just one lender. Like, I will admit, we have a lender we work with, my wife and I personally work with all the time, that's who I'm going to use. So I'm kind of in a position where sometimes I don't even call anybody else.
Yeah.
But for you folks that are thinking about buying a home here in Colorado Springs, I say shop around, man.
Shop around, definitely. And I mean, this goes for agents too. Definitely talk to several different agents. But I've had lenders that, for the life of me, will not pick up their phone. So just first start off by calling a couple different lenders, see how many callbacks you get, and then start going down the path of, well, what can they offer me that this person can't offer me? Because each lender is going to be able to offer some slightly different programs that might fit your situation better than another lender.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's not, I would say if you're working with a real estate professional, listen to their advice. Maybe they have a couple contacts. Do your own due diligence with Google reviews. If you know somebody else in the area, maybe like your friend just moved to the Springs a couple years ago or whatever. If they had a good experience, reach out to that person. But yeah, talk to 3 or 4 different people. And remember, it's not always about the rate. That's what, including myself, we all get tied up in.
Yep.
What's the rate?
Yep.
But you got to look at the rate, the terms and the fees, everything that goes with it. And then there's a huge thing too to be said for somebody that's actually going to get the deal done and get it closed on time.
Yeah.
So definitely somebody that's going to get the deal done. And this is something a lot of folks don't think about too, is that whenever you're competing for a house, which even in this market happens so, having a lender that's local, that has a good reputation in the community amongst real estate professionals. If I'm a listing agent and I get 2 offers in and they're the exact same thing, and I'm going to call these 2 different lenders on there, but I know one always gets the deal done and one is always a little bit behind the power curve, I'm going to pass that information on to my client. Ultimately, their decision at the end of the day, but I'm going to let them know, hey, look, this lender, they get the deal done, and these people over here struggle sometimes. So that's a big factor too. It can actually make your offer look better or worse depending on what lender you decide to use.
Yep, absolutely.
So
talk to more lenders.
Talk to lenders.
Don't go with the first one that you talk with,
Get multiple opinions.
Yes.
These largely, I would say, apply everywhere, but we're here in Colorado Springs, Pikes Peak area. So if you guys are thinking about buying a place here in Colorado Springs, please, please, please do not do those 5 things that we just mentioned. And as we always say, if you guys have questions about Colorado Springs, areas, neighborhoods, whatever the heck it is, call, text, email, hit us up in the comments. We'll make sure you get all the information to make the best decision possible if you're coming to Colorado Springs.